Calling this meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council informational meeting Tuesday, April 26th to order. First item on the agenda today will be City Council open discussion. Do we have any items for open discussion? Councilman Jameson.
I've got like 3 items real quick. I do have a message into the Sioux Falls School District Superintendent Brian Maher. Don't know him very well, but anyway, we're trying to set up a meeting to discuss the summer pass program for students. And of course, we're interested in any counselors who want to help participate in that awareness program, whatever it might entail, but we're trying to figure out first what they'll allow. So I have that going on. Second, if you've been living under a rock, you may not have heard of the 300 building that has been proposed. But during that discussion, I was also contacted from the owner of the building that the city attorney's lease and community development is in. They're willing to sell their building as well, just as an FYI.
How much, Greg, they're willing to sell it for?
I wouldn't want to narrow them down too much, but between $1 million and $1.5 million. And that's I think, a great opportunity to consider. Thirdly, and finally, given our joint meeting here at 5 with the Minnehaha County, I would like to recommend that on an ongoing basis that the council chair meets monthly with the county commission chair on a monthly basis. The chair could bring the vice chair along too. But I think there's a relationship there. We've worked really hard on our relationship with Brandon. For instance, we meet with them quarterly. And I think we're missing an opportunity if we're not doing a better job with the county. And I think there's an opportunity for the chair to meet with the chair of the commission on a monthly basis, just sit and have coffee, get a relationship going, talk about things we have going on, of course, but listen to what they've got going on. And I think from there, opportunities will present themselves, and I think we can do a better job. So I would like to encourage our chair, Councilor Anderson, to be the first one to do that and to start that.
Any comments from the council? Councilor Rolfe?
As vice chair, I think you may have hit on something. I think it'd be, the more you get together and do things and talk, the better things happen. And, there's more collaboration, et cetera, which we've all been talking about. And so, yeah, I think it's a great idea. And so thank you for bringing it up.
Councilor Karski.
This morning at the county commission meeting, Robert Colby was up speaking, called himself a commissioner emeritus, and I think he deserves the title because he was there for quite some time. But he gave a little history, as Robert likes to do, on local governance and politics, and about the history of the Breakfast Club and that type of thing. And he talked about how when he was county commission chair, he met monthly with the mayor. When I was council chair, I did attend a number of county commission meetings. I wish I would have attended more. I've been attending quite regularly now since the first of the year. I don't think I've missed one. And what I've gained from going to those meetings has helped me immensely here at the city council meetings. There's a lot that's going on there that we probably don't hear about until much later. And having open communications more than just the Breakfast Club, I think would definitely benefit this council, but I think it would benefit the administration to probably spend a little bit of time too with the county commission and that chair. It's one of the first things, and just kind of a history lesson, not to sound like Robert Colby, because I'll never be at that level, but he talked about the days when the city had to go to the county to borrow money. And that was before the second penny sales tax. So, it's where we are. Haven't been here this whole time, or for a very long time. And it's not to say that things can't change, that the shoe can be on the other foot again in the future. So I think it would benefit both parties immensely for a future council to keep that and foster that relationship.
Any other comments? Councilor Kiley.
I would just offer my assistance with meeting with Dr. Maher and anybody else with the school district as a 33-year member of the school district, and I might add that that was on the faculty, not as a student. That I would really enjoy. I'd really enjoy doing that.
Only 25 years of that 33 was student? I'll do it.
And yes, Councilor Jameson, I think that's a great idea, and I think that Councilor Rolfing and I will, matter of fact, when we have our joint meeting here, I think it would be another time to bring that up, because Lincoln County also may want to be involved in that. And it's a great partnership, the three of us, those three entities getting together and discussing over, things that could be alike and that we could address as a group. Councilor Offenbach?
I just want to bring back to mind that we used to do that on a regular basis. The county and the city council and the two county commissions would get together for breakfast. We also continue that process with some of the county commission members and school district members as well on a regular basis. In fact, tomorrow morning we have one. Those are all open to the public. Those are really valuable. They're as part of that relationship building. I just don't want us to pretend like we've never done this before or that we used to do it. We really do it, and we just need to make it better, I think, is the conversation. I just want us to remind ourselves that we haven't been falling down completely, especially this group. We've been really involved with that, and I just commend the group for being that participatory in it and for the efforts to make it even better than it is now.
I agree. Thank you. Any other comments for open discussion? Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. Just the comment was brought up about the potentially buying another building right down the road as well. So my question is, I guess, amongst ourselves, where are we with this process? Is it worthy to, we've got to be doing more instead of just kind of sitting on our hands and waiting for that time to tick out until October 1st hits. So we really are talking about looking at other options. I know I've talked to Councilor Rolfing a little bit here, on and off, but is it worthy to have a working session to talk about what we found, or have a 10-minute update at the next informational going forward of where we are and what's happening each time? Because I think that it's important. The reason why we did wait also was to explore those additional opportunities of, is it the 300 building? Is it this other building? Who knows? And so we've been continuing those conversations to look at a money-saving standpoint as well. And so I want to make sure that we're not just riding this out until that date, and that actually things are and conversations are being had. I know Councilor Rolfing is chomping at the bit, raising his hand to comment, so I'll let you take it over.
Councilor Rolfing.
Yeah, I want to assure you that I'm staying on top of it. I think some others, I know Greg is, or Councilor Jameson is doing some things too, but I've met with Sue Quambeck-Etten at least twice on some situations, and I have assured, you can be assured that I will stay on top of this and keep you guys informed. Sometimes I just will keep you informed.
And also, I've spoken with Sue, and we've discussed the 300 building and another piece of property that I thought was a miss for the city. And I asked her to look into both of them. And then a third one came up, and we had another discussion. So I also asked her to look at that one, and that maybe on the 10th, we may be able to get some type of update from her where she's at that time.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all I'm asking, is that we continue to have the steps in the process covered, so we're not all contacting, asking the same questions over and over again, and but we're all getting the same information and the same answers. So thank you.
Okay. Any other items for open discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to our presentation today, and that'll be a quarterly indoor aquatic center update, and we'll start with Don Kearney, our Parks and Recreations Director.
Good afternoon, City Council members. Appreciate the opportunity to have our project team here today to give you another quarterly update. Wanted to first start out by just showing the overall 3D site plan every day that goes by. The image you see on the screen continues to materialize before the project team's eyes. It's a nice graphic to remind ourselves what the ultimate build out of this floor plan will look like. And so every time we have our progress meetings, it continues to materialize. So it's always a good point of reference. As it relates to construction, the 50-meter facility is constructed. They are currently in the process of putting lane lines in the pool itself. We also, prior to that, did a water tightness test to ensure the tightness of the facility as far as holding water, which obviously is an important thing. And then we continue to be on schedule. The project is tracking nicely, and we're very excited about the fall opening. The recreation and therapy pools have been constructed. We have decks to pour around those yet, but we are all the pool walls, all the pool floors, and the recreation side of the facility are done as well. But we do have some additional decks, and obviously the rest of the build out, the tile finishes and those types of things that are left. If you've been by lately, you'll notice on the southeast corner of the building that we do have the glass up that surrounds the lobby area. I believe it looks very nice. And then you can see in the picture on the left that the north end of the building has been backfilled, and all the brick veneer has been installed on that north end of the building. So the water tightness test, you may have heard about that, but the picture on the left does show the pool being filled with water after they were done pouring it. And so once it was completely full, and then it sat for a period of time, and it was monitored to make sure there wasn't any water loss or anything beyond evaporation, and it had a set of parameters, and we're pleased to say that it passed with flying colors. So the pool is then drained, and then the tile work is beginning on that facility as we speak. Here's another shot of some of the interior finishes that are going on. The tile work in the locker rooms. We think it looks really nice. As part of our citizen committee that helped us to review all the finishes and the floor plan, they did obviously provide their thoughts and recommendations, as well as the design teams on what the interior finishes of the locker rooms would look like. And here's an example of some of the recommendations. Work on the rec pool, as I mentioned, continued. One of the things I noticed as I walk around the site itself as they're pouring the pool is the amount of rebar and reinforcing that they're putting in this facility is pretty substantial. It essentially looks like somebody's building a road out there. And so it's significant reinforcing that's going into the pool walls and floors, and it's really kind of cool to see. And then the picture on the right is where the tile markings. They're prepping for those so that those crosses on the ends of the pools can be ultimately applied with tile. And then there's a diamond bright finish that meets that tile when they get to the ultimate finishing, ultimate finish on the pool itself. There was a couple questions last time about landscaping, and so we want to talk about that a little bit too. As part of this project, we are planting 78 new trees throughout the site. They're a combination of deciduous canopy trees, ornamental trees, and then also coniferous trees. The majority of the conifers are on the north side of the building. Was one, I think Councilmember Kiley, you were suggesting that as well. And so you'll see that those are placed along the north side of the building, and I think those will be good placements. And then throughout the balance of the site, we'll have shrub, perennial, and ornamental grass plantings. And the other aspect of it is that we will have some sod around the building that we'll install, and then as you get further away from the building, we'll switch to seed. So here's some renderings of what that landscape plan would look like. The picture on the left, obviously, is the front entry and the drop-off area. And so you can see we've got a bunch of nice plantings in the front of that building. And then if you look in the picture on the lower right-hand corner, you'll see the landscaping that would be adjacent to the splash pad and the sun deck. And so I think Confluence, our landscape architectural firm, has done a really good job of laying that landscaping out. So we're excited about that finishing touch that'll happen as part of this project. So what to expect on the site throughout the spring. Interior finishes will continue. Landscape improvements will begin. And as early as the next 2 or 3 weeks, you'll start to see curb and gutter and that first lift of asphalt go down in the parking lot, and kind of doing that in stages, and then moving some job trailers around and doing another phase of that when they can shift some of the other job trailers that we have out there. And so they'll do the first lift and then obviously wait for the second lift until, right before we open the facility and the heavy equipment's off the site. The other thing we want to share with you is that the park improvements have been started. We will have new tennis courts, a new playground, a new restroom, a new basketball court, a new sand volleyball court, and a new picnic shelter as part of this project. There is some possibility that those improvements will actually be done before the pool, and so we're hopeful that we'll actually be able to get those open before the pool does itself, but good progress is being made on those as well. Here's just an example of some of the excavations that have happened on the tennis courts. This is earlier on, but good progress is being made there. And in the sake of safety, we have fenced off of that entire area as part of the demolition of the old structures that used to be there. And so that'll be off limits until we do get the new stuff open. The other thing we've been working on since we were last to you is that we continue to work on our operations, getting ready to open this facility. And so some of our staff did go to some other facilities and talk to their staff that have like facilities. And so we did send our operations staff and some of our rec staff to talk about programming with the recreation staff that are at those other facilities, as well as maintenance and operations. We're also consulted at those other facilities to really learn about what works well, what kinds of programming, what days of the week are most popular, when do you offer lap swimming, just try to learn what's worked well in other cities. And so we've done some of that. We're also in the process of actively procuring all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment that will be needed for this facility. We're working on the program schedule. When will lap swimming be? When will be the open public times? When will swimming lessons be? All those kinds of things, and so we're trying to finalize those as well. As part of our overall rollout of our summer activities guide and summer programs, we did launch the new pool passes, and those went on sale on April 11th, and so those are actively out on our RecTrack system, so you can go online and buy a pass or stop in this particular case because it's our first year. And so you need new key fobs, new pictures, and those types of things. And so the other thing that we're doing is actually going out to daycares and large groups that we know buy lots of passes to try to enhance the service there. Because if we know we've got 40 families who are going to want a pool pass, we'll set up at a daycare table and just go through that, so make it more convenient for people to avoid some of the lines that may hit this summer. As a reminder, we do have our webcam up. It continues to operate on an ongoing basis. It's on 24/7, 365, if people are interested in watching the construction progress. And then the other thing is that we will also be sending out another newsletter. This would be our fourth newsletter to those in that immediate neighborhood to keep them updated on the progress of the project. You'll see that we have pictures and also a general assessment of what's being done and what to expect in the future. And then also, we also will be having public tours. Now that the decks are poured, it's a little better time for people to get back in there. We're not quite there yet, but we do anticipate doing some more of those, and then ultimately we'll shut those down and then just wait for the grand opening at that point. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tracy to go over the financials.
Thank you, Don. Good afternoon. Tracy Turback with the Finance Office. This time around in the update, I'm going to show you two financial slides. The first one that you see on the screen now is what we've shown you in the past for the aquatics facility project. This is through the end of March. And again, the aquatics facility project includes the building, the parking lot, and then the immediately surrounding area or outside the building. The construction, as you can see, through the end of March, we've spent about $9.3 million. Most of the rest of the funds that have been spent have been on professional fees, and that's, of course, primarily the architectural fees. There's also some legal fees that were incurred early on in the project. But through the end of March, we've spent about $11 million out of the $24.1 million project budget. So we've got a ways to go yet in terms of utilizing the entire budget. But obviously, with construction season now well underway, you'll see that construction cost ramp up fairly rapidly. Some of you will recall that the park improvements that Don talked about that are now getting started are funded out of a separate bucket. So that's the park improvements for the tennis court, the playground, the restrooms on would be the west end of the Spellerberg Park, the basketball courts, the sand volleyball, and then the new picnic shelter are being funded out of the parks capital improvement program. They have programs for play courts, play structures, roads and parking improvements, and picnic shelters in their capital program every year, and those dollars are then allocated out to the different parks around the community where the improvements are needed. This year, a good share of those programs has been allocated to Spellerberg Park to make those improvements. Some of those have been postponed in recent years in terms of replacing some of those other park amenities. So you see the budget for those improvements is about $1.1 million, and through the end of March, we've spent about $340,000 of those dollars. That $1.1 million budget for those park amenity improvements represents about 45% of the park's capital program for those improvements. So it's a good share of their program budget for those types of park amenities. As you can see in some of the photographs and the comments that Don made, those are moving along. Those park improvements are moving along now fairly quickly, and you'll see that take shape fairly rapidly. So that's the second bucket. Those are outside the aquatics facility budget and are accounted for and tracked separately. So with that, that wraps up our update for this time around. We'll be back again in 3 months in July for another update, and for now, we'll stand by for your questions. Thank you.
Questions from the council? Councilor Jamison.
Question for Don. Don, this is the same pool that I grew up at as a kid, and I don't know where you were 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I should say. I could have used this park as a kid. On going through those pictures, one thing that dawned on me is the real change that your department is going to have, having a pool like this, the operational challenge that you're just going to start here, and visiting those other cities and looking at their operations. There's a lot of interesting questions I could ask you about, like, when is the most used day? Is it the winter? Is it the summer? Those seasonal things. I'm curious. But more than that, what struck me was the operating budget that you have today for the total parks all year is about what?
Approximately $15 million.
Operating?
For the entire department?
Just operating. How about with 15 million?
Yes, correct.
And the additional operating expense likely in this, or investment in this, would be what?
The estimated operating budget for an entire year is about $1.1 million. That's just on the expense side.
Take in some revenues from passes and rentals and
correct. Daily admissions. Yep.
It's just such a major shift in your department that I'm just kind of starting to sink in a little bit how much your department is going to change, and it's just I'm glad to see you're on top of it, going to those other communities. I think is really going to set you up to know what to expect, and so I think that's good.
Yeah, we just try not to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Councilor Pinbach.
Thank you. Don, a couple questions. As As you know, I have some direct connections in that neighborhood and have been paying attention to neighbors in addition to direct family there. Until the last couple of days, there have been dust issues in that upper level where the construction is, and obviously that's the opposite problem now. But there is a concern about trash along the fence along 22nd Street. If that's something that our crews can just walk through there once in a while, it's a construction site, we get that, but it's a little overwhelming for those folks that, as we know, some folks in that neighborhood weren't exactly excited about having this construction project there. Yeah. So then the other kind of comment I wanted to make, and then a couple questions about the way the slides look, is going back to that idea of green space in Spellerberg Park. This is an enormous building. We knew it was going to be enormous. We're doing all kinds of things to mitigate the size of it with evergreen trees and all of that. I wanted to comment first to that the field on 22nd Avenue or 22nd Street is getting as much use now as it ever has, that people are continuing to use that, even with the construction fence and all the stuff that's going on there. I think that's really valuable for people to understand that the amount of green space that's still active there is incredible, and it is getting used on a regular basis. A couple of questions then. On slide 7, you talked about planting 78 new trees. Have we kept any kind of score? This is kind of a dumb question, but it's something that I think we kind of need to. How many did we take out? What are we going to end up with? Are we going to have about the same number of trees we started with? Are we going to have more trees? Do you have a feel for that?
We transplanted 20.
Right.
Some of the smaller ones that were on site that were going to impact. So we transplanted 20 within the park that were just kind of in the way. We did take down 78, and then we were planting 78.
Okay.
And then but then on top of that, we also are doing all the shrubs and perennials and ornamentals that'll landscape the site as well.
Okay. So we gained about 20, right? Exactly. That's great. Then if you'd flip to the next slide and look at those, and maybe Chad is going to help me with this, but look at the way the trees look in that slide. That tree on the right, on the left slide, the upper left slide, the tree on the right looks like it might be an existing tree. Do we know that for sure, or is it just for decoration?
I'd have to ask Chad to
Chad, can you help me?
chime in.
Can you give me? It is for decoration. And then can you guess kind of the age of what those trees are in those slides at this point? What are the age of those trees there? Is that picture dreamed 3 years from now? Is it 7 years from now? Is it this fall?
They're all going to be planted at 2 inches in caliper or smaller, because that's the highest success rate.
Sorry, Chad, would you identify yourself
I'm sorry,
first,
Chad
please?
Cucker with Confluence.
Thank you.
So these are shown at maybe 10 years down the road,
Okay.
5 to 10 years down the road.
I just want to be realistic. I don't want to be negative about it, but I want us to be realistic that the trees aren't going to look exactly like that the day that they're planted. So I think it looks great. I'm, very complimentary of all of it. I just want the neighbors to understand where we're headed with it. So thanks for your work. Thanks for your help, Don.
Councilor Staggers?
Yeah, Don, I think I just saw a picture of the tennis courts. Is it correct there's going to be 2 tennis courts?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You bet.
Councilor Erickson?
Don't leave, please. I'm just curious if there's been any movement or changes with additional sponsorships or contracts with that.
Yes. We are currently working with the swim teams to provide the starting blocks and the scoreboard system, the things that are necessary for competitions. But yet we are also working on, we've actually had quite a bit of voluntary interest in the interior sponsorships, if you will, of those different spaces. Because of other priorities, we haven't gotten to launching that process yet, but it's certainly, there's pretty good interest out there, and we do plan to take advantage of that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Councilor Kiley?
And Don, was there a public restroom other than the restroom in the pool area before?
No.
There was not. So the addition of that, along with the new tennis courts and sand volleyball and basketball and the shelter, I mean, I think that northwest corner of the park is going to be greatly enhanced and more user-friendly as a result. So yeah. I think that looks great.
Yeah, and the way that Chad and his team have laid it out, I think is just going to have a great, good spatial relationship to each other. The restroom's going to be there because it is on that other level, so it'll be really nice.
Sure. Yeah. And thank you for following up with my suggestion of the conifers on the north side. because obviously that would provide some protection for the building.
Sure.
All year round, as well as screening for neighbors on that north side as well too. And by the way, Conifer Councilor Rolfing has needles and produces cones. Deciduous that has
What is
leaves.
yeah, I was going to say it's like a deciduous.
To add to that, normally our neighborhood parks do not have restrooms. I know that we've gone away from that, so this is unique among our neighborhood parks.
Yeah, I would actually call it, actually this one we would classify as a community park. And so it's larger than our typical neighborhood parks. And so we think the amount of activity that this would generate is really more of a community park type. And so we do have restrooms in those.
Councilor Jameson.
Don, if you could go back a couple of slides, I think were the pictures that Councilor Erpenbach was talking about. Yes. So on the lower right picture, I see a big 747 flying right over the building. That seems a little low. Did we add an airport somewhere near there? All right, well, that was one. And then seriously, though, on the flag there, the American flag, do you have a sponsor for that? Would you like one?
I believe we have some interest in that already. But as part of Councilor Erickson's thoughts, that is another one of those sponsorship opportunities. But I think we have somebody that would like to do that already and help with the sponsorship of that.
Yeah, I know of somebody else too. So will that be like how will that become competitively bid, or how does that work?
Yeah, we haven't pulled all that together yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's part of the work that we have left to do. It's on our work task list.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions from
Just a real quick one.
Councilor Rolfing?
Don, I see the tennis courts. Are those going to be convertible into pickleball courts too?
We have a very nice pickleball complex over at Riverdale, and we're looking at adding them for the future. But as of right now, these are strictly just tennis.
Tennis, okay.
Yes.
Are the as long as we're talking about pickleball, have the nets gone up yet over at Riverdale?
I'm not sure. I want to say they're supposed to be ready in May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You bet.
Any other questions from the council? Don and I have just a couple. The services that are going to be provided indoors, like your concessions, security, things like that. How are we progressing on that as far as the thought process?
Well, our intention is to have a third-party contractor do the concessions in that building. We did do an RFP on the building, and we did not get any. We had several people look at it, but didn't actually get any proposals for that. And so we're now working with some of the proposers that expressed an interest to try to work out some arrangements. One of the things we heard, as many employers across the city are struggling with, is staffing and trying to find adequate staffing. We're going to obviously have staff there that'll be manning the front counters currently, and so we're currently working with some of the folks that expressed interest to see if we can't work out something and maybe work through any of the concerns they would have had about submitting the RFP. So it's a work in progress.
Are you looking at maybe doing another RFP then, or do you just want to work with the people that put in the interest at this time?
Yeah, I think we can just, now that we've done the public process and we didn't get any proposals, we can negotiate directly with somebody that we think is going to have an appetite for it, but maybe you don't want to jump in with both feet, but would help us and work with us to come up with maybe a hybrid solution to make concessions available with the type of concession that we want as well.
Would you be open to if another entity decided that they had an interest in this now, would you be open to at least listening to that, or?
Sure, absolutely. You bet.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. With that being done, we can adjourn this meeting. Thank you for attending.